question is, over the weekend, Matt Williams benched Harper. Harper's spot came up late in the game. In a key situation, his replacement Franzen did not get the hit. It may or may not have been different if Harper was up. But the point is how he handled it after the game, and that's my question. Do you agree with the way that Matt Williams handled benching Bryce Harper for not running out the pop-up?
Yeah, you know, I was actually thinking about writing about this, but Boz wrote a great column on a hit around the head. You know, it's a reality check for Harper, and I think, you know, Williams handled it exactly the way you need to handle it. The interesting thing about this, so, you know, if Williams had 5-10 years under his belt as a manager, you'd say, okay, you know, I don't think there'd be any second thought about it. But because he's a first-year manager and he's already done so much, and I did write about this, you know, he's tinkering with the lineup, well, tinkering with Harper.
Harper specifically in that,
you know,
yeah.
And now this move, I think he made the right move. But, you know, I was talking with Adam Kilgore, our great beat writer with the Nationals, about this. Matt Williams is either going to be this great long-time manager here, or he's going to burn out quick because these guys are going to get sick of him. So, so I'm not saying he did anything wrong. I think he handled it the right way, but he's done so much right out the gates in his first job. It's like he's established this is who he is, and it's just going to be curious to see if this can play well over a long
That's a good point. I want to come back to that after I get your, Matt, your thought on the way it played out on Saturday.
I think the way it played out, I think Jason's right, and I think it was because he's a first-year manager, he had to do that, and you know, then he has to answer questions about it afterward, and you know, you answer them honestly, and I think Harper's enough of a pro now to know that he's not going to feel like he was called out afterward. I mean, he knew what the deal was. People are going to come and ask. You know, it's baseball. You can't hide the fact the guy was lifted from the game. He's either in the lineup or he's not. And if he leaves in the middle of the game, is he hurt or what's going on? There's only so you got to answer those questions. And I think as a first-year manager, he had to, you know, if that's his message to this team, we're running everything out. You can't have two sets of rules, or you can't let. But to Jason's point, because of all the jacking around in the lineup, I think it gets kind of magnified. You know, in isolation, yes, this is the move that any manager had to do, particularly a first-year manager, to show who's in charge. But when it comes on the heels of all this stuff of, you know, gee, where am I hitting tonight? You know, I don't think it's wrong. It was still the thing he had to do, but it does start to compound after a while, and it's only April.
This could be the narrative. I mean,
this could be something that we look back on at some point. Could be, maybe not. LeVar, do you agree with the way that Williams handled that? And I mean, with the potential sort of him being able to sort of more glaze it over and kind of keep it more in-house, and he sort of works it out with Harper and the team individually.
It's difficult to say whether it was the wise and prudent move or if it was the must move that should have taken place without knowing the relationship between the manager and the player. I think if there's this thing, respect and accountability. If there is no respect, chances are there's really no accountability. And if you made that move in an attempt to make sure that you're holding one of your most bright and famous stars of this team accountable, then you'd have to assume that he's also looking for a level of respect. And so by doing that, listen, the whole tinkering with the lineup and different things like that, I think some would say he's probably trying to figure out how to maximize what he has under the circumstances that he's under right now. You're dealing with injuries here and there. You're trying to figure out what's going to work because, quite frankly, we still have to have the conversation that they're not beating the better teams when they have the opportunity to play against them.
Well, they did have the big split against St. Louis, which is important.
Well, it's important, but that whole Atlanta thing still is out there lingering. And I think that he's a first-year guy. He's got to do it the way that he's going to do it. But you have to be careful you don't run into like a Mike Shanahan situation where being a good manager versus being a narcissistic manager overpowers or overshadows what you're trying to get done. I think maybe Oates has even experienced that this season as well, is you got to try to find the balance of what is right for your team, what's right for the guys in particular, singularly, and how those things work. Because if that could be a very big embarrassment to Bryce Harper, and you don't know how guys react to that. We saw how Robert Griffin III reacted to Mike Shanahan not taking accountability over him being put into the game.
Seattle beat.
Ultimately, he loses his job he gets benched for 3 games. It could go either way, and I think that Matt Williams has to be very careful in trying to establish that accountability and that respect factor with his clubhouse.
I mean, I think we'd all agree that relationship is very important, as important as any relationship that Williams has on the team, right? I mean, with any one player.
But
I mean, there's a lot of other issues.
You got to be able to coach a star. Like there's something to be said about it. Almost like we're in a culture now where
team is all
you can't coach a star anymore. You got to be able to coach a star.
Exactly, and the team has all said the right things and said, hey, he didn't hustle. He got benched. That's what should have happened.
The other thing too is he's not a star yet.
And that's what Boz was pointing out.
Which Boz was absolutely right. And Boz also pointed out in the column that they were told in a closed door meeting, look, the next guy who doesn't run out. I forget how Boz phrased it, but the next guy who doesn't do this, you're going to be out of there. So there's some stuff going on there.